So unfortunately, Charlie Kirk was unalive this past week at a rally he was doing in Utah. And I was not aware of who this brother was. You know what I'm saying? But white gentleman with some very strong opinions about some things, Republican gentleman, and I'm not Republican, but I don't wish him to be unalived for his views on things, you know what I'm saying? But there are people with varying opinions about his death. And what I will say is this, is I started to look up videos to see why people felt this way about this man. Video we don't get to particularly is Charleston White, who had empathy or sympathy for the man. But I was confused because of how Charleston White had no empathy and matter of fact, laughed about how Gilly the Kid's son died. But we'll get to that in 1 second. But when I went to look up the videos to see who this guy was and learn about some of his stuff, I came across two videos, Anton Daniels and Oshay Duke Jackson. Brothers I watch all the time. They both Republican. I'm not Republican, but I agree with these brothers on a lot of things, on a lot of topics. I watch their stuff, right? And we agree on most things. But there's a small nugget of political stuff that we don't agree with. But Oshay and Anton came up with two different viewpoints on how they view this guy, Charlie Kirk. Anton was making Amanda Seals look bad. Well, she makes herself look bad often, right? I'm not fond of her. And that was the first video I watched, and I was kind of leaning that way on, like, why is she delighting in the passing of this guy? And, Anton was in agreement with that. Like, yeah, this whack that she agrees and this, that, and another. And I was like, yeah, until I came across Oshay Duke Jackson video. And although he's Republican as well as Anton Daniels, Oshay Duke Jackson showed some of the clips of why it would make black people kind of like indifferent about this guy's passing. And it quickly became noticeable to me, like, yeah, while I don't wish death upon this brother, it took some of the sadness out of it, hearing him talk the way that he talked when it came to black issues. You dig what I'm saying? He didn't have a lot of empathy for black folk and our issues. So just to give you an example of that, check out some of Oshay Duke Jackson videos that he put together about Charlie Kirk.
And the conservative right are devastated. Many people across the country are paying their respects to Mr. Charlie Kirk, including President Donald Trump. The White House posted on X, in honor of Charlie Kirk, President Trump is ordering all American flags throughout the U.S. to be lowered to half-mast. And this is what he said verbatim. In honor of Charlie Kirk, a truly great American patriot, I am ordering all American flags throughout the United States lowered to half-mast until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Now, Charlie Kirk was a political commentator, but also an organizer. At 18 years old, he started Turning Point USA, who's going all around the country, galvanizing the American youth to become conservatives. And he had a huge platform on TikTok. I believe he had like 7.1 million followers. And the guy was just very, very popular. But after his death, people started coming out with certain criticisms. And those criticisms mostly came from the black community. Rewind! One of the things that Charlie Kirk talked about a lot was the black community gun violence and how violent crimes were in Black America and why that happened.
Black people are only 13% of the population, yet they commit 55% of the murders. Why?
Because Black people tend to be in lower economic statuses.
So you think that poverty equals crime?
It's highly correlated. A lot of
this is
studies
where
on
we
that.
disagree. What an insult to the working poor of this
So why
country.
do you think Black people commit more
Well,
crime,
first
Charlie
of all,
Kirk?
what percentage of blacks have a father around when they're raised?
I'm not sure.
25%. 75% of black youth are raised without a father in the home. 75%. It is the most predictable way to end up in prison, end up as a murderer or a criminal.
And
It's
why
not
do
a
you think that's
racism
a problem?
It's not a white supremacy problem. It's a fact that black fathers impregnate women and they don't stay around with the women that they have impregnated.
Now, on this point, I'll agree with him. We have a problem in the black community with fathers being in the home, right? And we know that the statistics say that because the family unit is not intact, that it equals a lot of terrible results for the children. And we can see that in today's world. Now, where I don't agree is that he said it's not a white supremacy problem. You are absolutely wrong, sir, because the reason that the black family has been broken down to the degree that it is because of white supremacy. Is it exactly that reason? White folks are the head of this country. You dig what I'm saying? When you look at politics and all of that, it's white people that run everything. The judges, the lawyers, the police, the judicial system, the lawmakers, mostly white or even Jewish when it comes to the lawyers. So who do you think is going to be arrested, prosecuted, and convicted at a higher rate? Just to start there. Black folk, especially when this country and the white folks that run it have a deeply seated hatred for us. When you go back into the times of the 3-strike law and all of this stuff in the 80s and 90s, when the government placed crack and drugs and guns into the black community, black folks used to be very professional and astute. It was more black folks that looked like the Cosbys in years past than you could imagine. But because white folks systematically came up with ways and formulas to break up the black family, and they made it happen. Planned Parenthood, all of these things to get us to unalive our kids and break up the family. We'll give them government assistance, the women, and then we'll make it that the men have to stay out of the home, right? You can't get government assistance, right? So you're bribing our women with government assistance. We'll take care of you and your babies, but you can't just have that man there, right? And then you hit us with the 3-strike system, where now for something as petty as being a crackhead 3 times in a row, you can get sentenced to 30 years in prison. Tell me what white family, right? That's a drug problem. Tell me what white family has had their father sent away for 30 years because he had a heroin problem or because he had a meth addiction. You dig what I'm saying? Systematic racism has always been a thing in the United States of America. And when you place people in these ghettos and these impoverished neighborhoods, right? White folks live and everything is nice and this, that, and other. And then you push all the black folks in one spot and you give us scraps to play with, no jobs, this, that, and other. People are going to fight and unfortunately unalive each other for resources. I'm not giving this a pass for continuing to be this way, right? Because we got smartphones, so we need to smarten up. It comes a time where we need to learn from our mistakes and break the cycle. And I agree with Charlie Kirk for addressing the problem, but don't give you and your white counterparts a pass on this. Y'all enslaved us for 400 years and made us build this country with our bare hands off of free labor. And you never paid us for it. And you're never going to pay us for it. But yet, somehow, we hear white folks running around talking about how they pulled themselves up from their bootstraps. And why can't black folks do the same? We're still dealing with systematic racism in this day and age, right? I'm preaching too long, but I had to combat some of his theories here while also agreeing with them. Let's continue with Oshay's video.
Not only was Charlie Kirk call out the left, he also called out things concerning black holidays.
It's Juneteenth. What exactly is going on here? Well, very few people are willing to actually call this out. From the first time that this was floated as a federal holiday, I am thankful and proud to say on this program we opposed it. This is not about out of many one. No, it's about a certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. The exact same thing that happens before NFL games where they play the Black national anthem. This recognition of this as a quote-unquote federal holiday comes right out of the 1619 Project. Look who's most excited that this is a federal holiday. And they're not talking about this as a massive celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Now we have a full day to be able to smear and slander white America. This holiday is a wedge, and I put in quotes, holiday is a wedge, used to push for countless destructive policies demanded by BLM. And remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder.
Now, this is where it gets interesting, okay? Now we're going from blacks are violent, and then now we're going to Juneteenth. You don't like the holiday. Now, let me just say this. With a lot of the white conservatives, here's the mistake that they make. Number one, you tell black people, what do they have to lose? That was what Donald Trump was saying. And then it looks hypocritical when you have Charlie Kirk attacking a holiday that was about slavery. So what you're saying is you're attacking a holiday that people are expressing themselves because their ancestors were enslaved. And so now you're saying that it's not a real holiday. I mean, it becomes insensitive. And this is a point that we need to build on. Charlie Kirk, although he does have some relationships or had relationships with black conservatives, he would only have those relationships with you, as it appears, if you felt 100% the way that he did. Every black person you see Charlie Kirk with feels the same way, usually, I would believe, about the black community that he does. That's the only way you're going to become a part of Charlie Kirk's inner circle. He partly owns Turning Point USA, and the blacks there are underneath Charlie Kirk, right? And they have to feel the way that he does, and they have to be able to have these same talking points in order for you to get close to him, okay? Now, if you say this about any other group, it's insensitive. And he was saying this about the black community. Again, if Charlie Kirk felt like this when it came to Juneteenth, it's something that he should have most likely kept to himself, all right? Now, if he talked about black on black crime and these violent crime problems, it's something that we can't really argue with. But now when you're talking about stuff like this, it's cutting to the edge where it is seen as disrespectful, okay?
So Oshay is totally right on this. But just listen, I wonder if Charlie Kirk met the Jewish holiday Yom Shehoah, January 27th, where they remember the Holocaust. I wonder if he would meet the Jewish holiday with the same disdain and disrespect that he meets Juneteenth with. You understand what I'm saying? It's always cool to disrespect black folk while simultaneously showing great respect for all these other communities. You understand what I'm saying? So you can see why some black folk are starting to kind of feel like, hey, my man, what is your deal? You understand what I'm saying?
It's just what it is. It's something that he should have just left alone. Of course, what people do is they pander to their group, and then they know that their group obviously feels like this. So when black people hear a white person, a quote-unquote white conservative, talking like this, they don't like it, all right? And they don't like this person who is saying it. Because the number one thing that blacks are going to believe is, why is he saying this? He doesn't understand the history. Why is he talking like this? Again, this is important. But then, what were Charlie Kirk's views on gun ownership?
I can't stand the word empathy. Actually, I think empathy is a made-up New Age term that does a lot of damage, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year.
So here we are, him explaining that he doesn't have empathy for people and what they're going through. And then he explains that he doesn't mind some people to be unalived if it means you can bear arms. And it makes you, while Anton Daniels kind of made Amanda Seales look a certain way for saying what she said, this is one of the very few times that I think what she's saying makes some sense. Listen to what she had to say.
I just can't relate to y'all who are like, well, you don't have to agree with the way someone lives to not agree with them being murdered. Yeah, I do. Because especially if their extermination was literally done in the exact context within which they said others should die. They had no problem with other lives being taken by gun violence. None. I do have to agree with how you live in order to care about how you die. I don't know why you don't. Maybe I'm just so calloused by how many actual leaders and good people have been assassinated by state-sanctioned violence for the many years that we have been on this earth.
And so you see, it's like, while some people, I may not agree that they are celebrating this man's unaliving, but I can understand where Amanda Seales is coming from with this, because it's like, you chose to publicly spew the fact that you have no empathy for when other people pass. You don't mind when they pass due to gun violence, and you welcome it as long as you are ready to carry your arms and can carry your arms. Listen, I understand that violence comes along with carrying arms, whether you're carrying it for protection or whether with ill intent. But what I'm saying is, I'm not going to be callous to have no empathy for when people lose their loved ones just because you care about your politics more than you care about those people or black people in general. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I can understand. Now, as we go forth, I want to show you that the empathy that Charleston White ironically had for this man, a white man, right? And it's key that we say that. Here we go.
Yeah, if somebody kill me, they're going to celebrate that too, so I don't trip. It's some evil people in the world, homie.
Yeah, I know, bro. At the end of the day, he's got a family, bro, you know?
Yeah, and he's never harmed nobody. He's just been, he may have hurt some people's feelings with his opinions and ideology, but he's never tried to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
But one thing about it, man, never throughout history have evil ever won. Never. Never throughout human existence have evil ever won.
But, why is there a bunch of fucked up shit happening in the world right now?
Good things happen to bad people just like bad things happen to good people. That's the yin and the yang of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the sun can't shine every day. We have to have rain. We have to have trials. We have to have tribulation.
He was very sympathetic when it came to the white brother Charlie Kirk losing his life to gun violence. Now listen how he talked about Gilly the Kid's son losing his life to gun violence.
Got a dead son and you talking about snitching. Pow! You shot your son in the head, boy, unalive. Pow! Young Gilly been shot. I remember how you and Wallow were crying. Oh, my son.
I'm finna call my boy, because you can't call yours. You got to do this. Oh, I miss my son.
Now, Charleston often plays a character. He always tells us that he's playing a character. He does it very well. But I just wanted to show you the difference in, I guess, what this character comes up with when it pertains to a black man and a white man. I don't know why Charleston seems to have a deep self-hatred for black folk, where it's different with white folk. But at the same time, he definitely, I think, says a lot of things that he says out of intelligence and out of wanting to help black folks. I believe he loved black folks, but he got a funny way of showing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, to go that so much egregious to talk about Gilly's son being unalive, it's weird to me to go that far. You know what I'm saying? But as you can see, overall, he has empathy for Charlie Kirk. I have empathy for Charlie Kirk losing his life, but I can also understand why many black folk, include myself, feel some type of way, or we ain't as hurt as we could possibly be when we hear of his passing, because some of the unsensitive ways that he's talked about us. But still, we wish the brother well, rest in peace. I'm thankful that he knew God, and I pray that God will show him mercy and forgiveness, and that he will be able to see God in the kingdom, as I pray the same for all of us. With that, this is your boy Pete Camp. Let me know what you think, what you don't think. Get at your boy.